So thank you everybody for coming to this seminar. Thank you from the introduction from Cassia and Giorgio, and I think that's a good introduction to what BDVA is, why it was set up to begin with. So my name is Stuart Campbell. I'm the Secretary General of BDVA, and I'm from an SME actually called Information Catalyst. So I'm going to tell you on the objectives of today, what is a BDVA PPP at a very high level, what is Big Data Value all about, and what is the BDVA association itself, and how can you actually be involved with all of that if this interests you. So moving along quickly. So of course, with all those facts and figures you've just heard, you can imagine that there is a lot of attention to this area in the past years. I'm sure you know all of that yourself. So of course the European Commission and large industry in particular have decided to say, well, Europe should do something about this. So you can see on the screen there's various kind of quotations from the great and the good, but essentially saying, well, we need to do something in Europe if we're to take big data seriously at the end of the day. So what happened is in October the 13th, I think it was, in 2014, the private side, i.e. industry and also academia as well, and the public side, in this case the European Commission, came together to say, okay, let's make something happen, and they formed the Big Data Public-Private Partnership, and the Big Data Value Association, which I represents the private side of this. Okay, so this was at the launch event with Nelly Cruz, and this happened in the Berlaymont, and you can see the kind of joy and the excitement of big data in the handshaking ceremony to set up this particular partnership, which was announced in a nice fanfare. So before big data and after big data, that's the magic we hope to get from it. Looking at it more financially, what's been committed is that the European Commission will commit to this to the tune of about 500 million over a 5-year program, and obviously it expects commitment to this initiative from the private side as well. And the way we determine that commitment is really what we call the leverage effect. So there's some direct leverage, which is companies invest in big data technology themselves, typically ICT companies, but there's the indirect effect, which is by providing better big data technology, other companies, maybe not, let's say, directly in technology themselves, but users can leverage that and make some money or improve efficiency. I should say that the BDVA and the BDV is very well supported. So the president of the organization is Jürgen Müller from SAP, with many other large organizations and also small organizations involved as well. For example, a vice president of Atos. So the other thing to remember is this was stimulated by actually the NESI European Technology Platform, for those of you who know about ETPs. So this itself had a lot of 450 members, about 24 key steering committee partners, people like Nokia and Thales and Indra and SAP, of course, but not just the NESI partners, other people as well. But one of the key things we wanted to get out from this is that whatever organization there was, we had certain principles, openness, transparency, etc., 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 and of course very much a cross-stakeholder initiative, large companies, SMEs, research organizations, users. However, upon saying that, written into the statutes of BDVA and indeed the BDV PPP is the fact that it should be an industry-driven organization, and indeed it shouldn't just be about kind of technology and research, it should be about the wider areas. In terms of the structure, this is a classic public-private partnership structure. We have the public stakeholder, the commission. We have the private community, the Big Data Value Association, and we have a regular meeting of a partnership board where we have signed a commitment together to make sure things that happen. So it's really a contract. It's not just a kind of verbal agreement. Of course, we have all of these private stakeholders. I don't think you'll be surprised by that. And the overall ideal is about the BDV implementation. Now, broadly speaking, when we talk about that, we think Horizon 2020, for example, but it can be other areas. It could be in ITEA or Artemis or regional programs. Right now, our focus is definitely H2020, but it's about the overall implementation. And one thing to say is, you don't need to be in the Big Data Value Association or part of the Big Data Value PPP to be part of that implementation. Of course, we hope you are, but it's not a kind of compulsory thing. It's not an evaluation criteria. So to deliver all of that, of course, we've got some substructures. We've got a board of directors, task forces. There will be coordination projects. There will be research projects. But at the moment, what we're focusing on in the first year of operation, or the first 9 months of operation, is some task force, some subgroups to get things active and get things up and running. The commitments of the people who join the BDVA and the commitment to the BDV is, of course, this leverage I mentioned, but many other things as well. The principles of inclusiveness. We have specific objectives to get 20% of SMEs as participating organizations. We need to engage all players, not just the technology vendors, but of course the users and the data providers. And there's an overall governance and ecosystem model, which means we can all deliver on these aspects. In terms of the benefits, of course, we all want some benefits out of there. Of course, there's the general things: cooperation, promoting, contributing. But if you're looking at yourself individually, of course, at the end of the day, we are a voluntary networking organization. But we hope through this networking, as well as influencing others on something called the strategic research agenda, i.e. what should we do for big data in the next 5 years, that we get this ecosystem up and running and you can be part of it. And BDVA itself is a legal entity. So in terms of the timeline, well, we started in 2014. We go up to the end of the implementation of the projects, and as I'm sure many of you know, that there are already some first calls in Horizon 2020 which are quite geared to big data specific calls, but also many other calls are mentioning big data and data in general. So to quickly move on to the next step, what is Big Data Value and BDVA? Well, I'm sure you know what big data is. So here's a nice academic view. I'm sure you've all got your own. As hinted earlier on, we can take various different economic perspectives on it. You know, does it increase sales? Does it decrease costs? Can we make new business from it? And of course, it hits every single application areas and more than these as well. We also need to consider how big is big, because of course big data conjures up this volume aspect, but actually big data for IBM, in CERN, in SAP is very different to big in the context of a small SME like Information Catalyst. So what we talk about, of course, in big data is the volume, the velocity, the variety, the veracity, but what we're focusing on very much is the value, which I believe really includes somehow all the rest as well. But really, this is industry driven. It's about how does Europe turn data into money? How do we help growth? How do we help competitive? How do we help the societal challenges? So the value, here's some definitions of McKinsey, but yes, it's about, you know, some nice kind of principled things of segmenting customers and innovative business models, etc. But from a BDVA point of view, it's all of those things, but it's also, we're dealing with all sorts of data, so corporate data, sensor data, social data. So it's kind of everything in that particular landscape. We also, a big aspect is privacy, consumer protection, but it's other things as well. So like skills. It's no good having great technology if we don't have the skills to do anything about it. And it's about this ecosystem of engaging with others to develop together, whether it's business models or technology. We need to do this together. So big data, BDVA is not just about data, it's also about the things you see on the top right, which are about skills, social, legal, business, applications, as well as the technical side as well. And it's about the full path of the data value chain, from the original acquisition of data to visualization and putting into implementation the data we find in the intelligence we get from it. BDVA currently has 111 members. It's one of the fastest, if not fastest growing PPPs. So obviously there's a big interest in this area, particularly considering all those members are paying. In fact, the funny thing is most of those members are full members, and there's a good balance between the two. We're a very open organization, but there are statutes, there is a vision to buy to, there is a contribution in kind as well as a monetary contribution. But I should also say that being in BDVA does not automatically mean you will be awarded some commission project. That's not the case either. So here's some samples of some names. You might have heard of them, and many more names are on our website as well. So in terms of what it's all about, the key thing is the PPP must make some impact. It must deliver on this competitiveness and the strategy and this growth. So we need to make impacts on technology participants to other stakeholder classes. So that includes, of course, research and technology things like transferring technologies, for example, from large organizations to SME, or from researchers to large organizations in SMEs. And we will do that through something we call iSpaces and Lighthouse projects. And for all of these aspects, we need a coherent framework. It's no good having bits of the puzzle. We want to complete the big puzzle for Europe. So to do that, there are, let's say, 6 main strands. We're dealing with the technology again, industrial leadership, research and innovation, the overall business and applications, this kind of ecosystem approach, but also the societal challenges as well, such as in health and energy and awareness. And of course, overall, it's not even just about big companies and SMEs, but the citizens and the overall awareness of big data, what it can do for society, is pretty important. So the way we will accomplish this is through classical research projects, but also something we call innovation spaces, which are hubs for you see the fields ranging from data management and to visualization. This is not to say that there might be some new fields coming up, and I'm sure if there's any researchers on the call, you can probably add to that particular listing. So iSpaces are these hubs. They are about bringing these different aspects together so that people can experiment. They can experiment perhaps on data, they can experiment on tool sets, they could experiment on legal and discuss things like that. But they are iSpaces, and effectively these are, I'm not quite sure what they're called in the core currently, it changes from day to day, but they're basically hubs of activity connected with data. Lighthouse projects, as they suggest, are large-scale demonstrators. So we can prove some of the technologies. Some of this technology is already there, but we can prove this technology and put it into implementation. And of course, all of these things, they interact together with a kind of cooperative agreement between everything to make sure we deliver on this ecosystem. So finally, I'm just going to finish off with a few words about the Big Data Value Association itself, and if this interests you and how you can be involved. So at the moment, we're composed of 10 major task forces, from impact and KPIs and metrics, because we have to perform, to looking at future work programs, to looking at strategic research agendas, from looking at business and skills and education. And actually each of those task forces break it down often into 3 or 4 subgroups. So we've got quite a kind of large pool of active people, around 300 people looking at all of this right now. Again, the task force is there in a little bit more detail. Of course, we have to do things like communication and community building as well, but the kind of leading task forces are about the program management, is about application sectors, domains, and about business impact. If you are interested, you can go to our website, bdva.eu. There's various information on there, and there are some forms you can fill in if you want to get some more information or to join our organization. There's different level of memberships. I'm not going to bore you with this table right now, but they range from being simply on a mailing list to actually being a full board member, and there's various implications involved. Of course, I did say we need to keep ourselves going, so it's not a free organization. The range is from very large industry in the 4 members down to €250 for the associated and the SMEs and the academic members. What's surprising, I think is surprising, is that most people have gone for 4 membership, and this I think shows that people really believe in this strategy and the way ahead. So just to finalize, here you have my contact details as Secretary General. Please feel free after this to give myself a call. I'll of course answer any questions now or later. And as suggested, the PowerPoints will all become available. Okay. Thank you very much.